doing this morning? So just got done doing a great interview, which is actually uploading right over there on my computer. But I've gotten a bunch of subscriber questions in the last 48 hours or so, and I want to do my best, as always, to reply to them. In the past, when the channel was smaller, I would do individual videos. The channel is starting to grow, which I want to thank each and every one of you. And if you haven't already, hit the like button and the subscribe button and leave questions if you would like. But we're going to go through a whole list of them. So let's get started. In no particular order, here, the first question was really, hey, I'm an introvert. Um, you talk about this being a people business. How can, any advice for helping an introvert, um, make introductions, get to know people so that you can quote unquote get in the deal flow, right? If you watch this channel enough, you know that I'm a strong believer that over the course of time, it's not only who you know, but who knows you. So you will need to work on that. But as far as, if you're an introvert, I know lots of very successful introverts. It may not seem like it today, but 20, 25 years ago, I was an introvert, and I have evolved. Being a commissioned salesperson will do that to you because you have to talk to people. But what I would tell you if you're an introvert today is start going to real estate meetups. Start just being around other real estate investors. You know, if you can push yourself to say, my name is X, my name is Y, that is great. But just let me know what you think about the book, Doc. And don't forget to take a selfie with it too. I like to share those. Those are fun. But again, being an introvert is okay. It's not an impediment. Just get in social circles where real estate investing is being talked, and make it a point to collect business cards because maybe you're uncomfortable talking to people. But today in this social media world, you can just go out and you can email them. Maybe it is easier for you to email folks. I have worked with plenty of real estate agents where our first connection, if not our first several connections, were, I don't know if you want to call it virtual or email or whatever. And once you have that connection, even for introverts, it's usually easier to have a conversation. So that would be my word of advice. Don't use it as a crutch. Lots of people are introverts. I was one of the worst introverts ever when I was a teenager. I took a job as a commission salesperson and sold nothing until I realized I actually have to get up and talk to people. So you figure it out. So just put yourself in uncomfortable situations, collect cards, and just get to know people via email if that's a little bit better for you. And that will help. All right. So that's number one. Number two was, what is the bare minimum of time it takes to, it says work in rentals. I'm going to actually kind of answer this question of time in one of two aspects. Something you will see in my book or my course is I talk about learning your market. In fact, I think it's the number one thing. Uh, I think everything else in real estate investing, certainly for buy and hold investors, is just learning your market, right? Because if you can understand what a good or great deal is, you've won, right? If you only ever do good or great deals and you realize that 98 or 99% of the other nonsense is bad or average, you win. That's But it takes work. So the first question about time is, I think you can get away in the beginning spending 15 or 20 minutes a day looking at your area and your criteria, but you've got to do it consistently. I'm You've heard me say it plenty of times, right? I looked every day for 10 years, and most days I looked more than once. And if I could do it with my crazy travel life, family life, you can find 15 minutes. And again, it could be done on your phone. I mean, sheesh, when I started, it was all online, so I had to be connected. So again, I think that's the question. Then the other question I took from this is, or I think you may have been asking, was how much time does it take to manage them? I want to be very clear. I've never managed my own stuff. I've always had property managers, right? My lifestyle in the beginning didn't benefit being didn't allow me to be my own self manager, so I had to pay a property manager, which was 10% in the beginning. But that just meant I had to do good or great deals, right? An average deal wouldn't be positive cash flow. So we spend, in the beginnings, it was probably an hour a week kind of communicating, usually via email or text, on what's going on with our properties, approving different expenses. As the portfolio grew, I don't think it was ever more than 2 or 3 hours a week, and we have a fair amount. But again, it's because we have rules, we have procedures, we have all these other things, um, going on. So I, you know, it's not horribly time sensitive, but realize we did not self manage. So if you're looking at this as a self manage, it's going to be more. Um, but I don't have that experience, so I really can't answer that question. Next up, there was a question about a 529 plan. Um, this individual indicated they had a niece, two nieces, I think, and I think they were 8 and 10. I forget. They were young, and they were like, "What do you think about 529 plans?" So, um, as always, I got to answer what we did. So we have a daughter who's now out of college, and she's an adult now. Um, so we did have a 529 plan, but we had started it before we found real estate. We had started when she was very young, and we just kept going. I now believe if we were going to start it today, we would have allocated 1 or 2 houses when she was, 3 or 4 or 5 to be her college fund. It would have been a far more efficient use. And if she didn't end up going to college, it would have been something they could have used for, starting an entrepreneur or a down payment on a house or whatever. Again, uh, I feel kind of bad because again we used a 529, but again we did that before real estate. But it's very restrictive, right? You can only use it for education. If the kid doesn't want to go to college but wants to start a business, you can't really use it. There's I think there's a lot of downsides, but hey, college is expensive. So if you're willing to help your two nieces, I'm sure what would that be? Your sister and brother-in-law, whatever. I'm sure they would appreciate it. Worst case, I've told many people, hey, you've just had a child. I suggest you buying a rental property because if you have a kid and then college is for most people 18 years away, that's the place is probably 50% LTV at that point. You've had inflation. You have so many options, and they're not limited just to college education. But again, I realize that's not for everyone. But you asked for my thoughts on a 529. That's my thoughts. Next up, I got a question about investing in silver, gold, and oil. Now, I don't know if this was just because of what was going on in the news 3 or 4 days ago with oil and gold spiking, which have now retreated. But again, what did I do? I have owned usually silver just because I could buy more of it in the past, but we're talking very, very small amounts. But again, I still have a little. Uh, it doesn't produce cash flow. That's my biggest problem with it. You also have storage cost and theft cost and all those other things. But the biggest thing for me about commodities is you're just playing a different form of appreciation game. And if you've learned anything about myself, my book, how I evaluate real estate, I don't count on appreciation ever. I try to control the downside and let the upside take care of itself. So I think investing in gold, silver, oil, um, it's a momentum play. It is does it just doesn't produce cash flow, so it doesn't pay my bills. So I don't do it to any great degree. It's I don't know what it would be 0.00001% of what we have. Um, at this point, more it's cute to go show my niece or nephew a 100 ounce bar of silver or something. That's all it is. IRA investment rules. I have never had an IRA. Every time I changed jobs, I decided to cash out my 401k and take the penalty so I can buy more real estate. Yes, I know this is sacrilege and I could have done a self directed IRA. Again, I'm just telling you who I am. I've never done that. I don't know the rules, don't know the difference, never looked into it, a Roth or any of these others. Um, so I can't really answer any IRA questions because I haven't done it, don't have experience. And yeah, so can't help with that one, or at least I'm not in any position to help anybody there. Talk to a financial advisor or whatnot. I can tell you cashing out my 401ks penalties was significant, although I can tell you the pieces of real estate I bought with it far outweighed any penalty I got, and I'm glad I did it. Would I do it differently today? That's a good question. Um, I actually might move them into a self-directed IRA today, knowing what I know. But again, that's not what I did a decade ago. And then lastly, 401k loans. I wrote about this in our book. I used 401k loans every year. In my case, you can only get one. You could take it up to 50% of the loan balance or the account balance, sorry, or portfolio balance. I did that every year. So check with your employer because everybody has different rules. But for me, I could take 50%. I could select the payback period, which I always chose 12 months because I wanted to use that over and over and over again. So every check, they would take off a piece and repay my loan, which was just all automatic. I loved it. There are lots of risks for this. Like if you leave your job, you got to pay it back or get penalized. And check with your administrator. But 401k loans were something I used, I'm going to say from 2010 to 2016, so 6 or 7 times every year. And glad I did it. Why not, right? And the reason I had a 401k is because my company matched. So I always just put in whatever the max match was because I figured, hey, 100% gain is awesome. So that's what I have. That's the list of subscriber questions I have. I'm happy to do these videos over and over again. If you have questions and you are a subscriber, just leave them in the comments. I'm the only person that sees these. I'm the only person on this channel. So if I get flooded with another dozen or so questions, I will just do another live stream answering each and every one of them. If you're still watching this, hit the subscribe button. Likes are always helpful for the YouTube algorithm, or at least that's what Graham Stephan says. I have no idea. And do me a favor and ask your friends and Facebook groups to watch and join. Have a wonderful day. Take care.